Today, we're diving into the world of cerebral palsy, but we're going to zero in on its most common symptom, something called spasticity. We're going to explore the incredibly tough choices that people face when they're managing a body that is, well, in a constant state of tension.
I mean, really think about that for a second. Imagine every moment of every single day, some of your muscles are just tight. They're contracted, stiff, and you can't will them to let go. This isn't like being sore after a tough workout. No, this is a constant, powerful pull that literally shapes how you move, how you grow, and how you live. That's the daily reality of spasticity. So, to really get a handle on spasticity, we first have to understand the condition it comes from. Let's start with the absolute basics. Now, the most important phrase on this slide is a group of disorders. See, cerebral palsy isn't just one single thing. It's really an umbrella term for a whole range of conditions. But they all stem from the same root cause, some kind of injury to the brain while it's still developing, either before, during, or right after birth. And that's why it can look so completely different from one person to the next.
This image really gets to the heart of it. The problem isn't actually in the muscles themselves. It's in the control center, the brain. Now, the initial injury, that's static. It doesn't get worse over time. But, and this is key, the effects of that injury on a growing body, they can absolutely change, creating all sorts of new challenges down the road.
So while CP can cause a whole variety of movement issues, spasticity is by far the most common one. It's the symptom that really defines the experience for the vast majority of people with the condition. Okay, so let's dig into that. How does this one symptom, this neurological misfire, spiral into a cascade of physical challenges that can affect the entire body?
This is probably the simplest and best way to think about it. Normally, your brain is sending these perfectly balanced signals to your muscles, telling them when to contract and when to relax. But in spasticity, that balance is just gone. The contract or go signal completely overpowers the relax or stop signal, and the result is that constant involuntary muscle tightness.
And the consequences of that are just profound. This nonstop muscle tension leads to incredible stiffness, especially in the legs. It can force the body into unusual walking patterns, like when the knees cross over each other in what's called a scissor gait. Of course, this causes pain, it throws off your balance, and over many, many years, that constant pulling can permanently shorten muscles and even change the actual shape of your bones.
This one number, 42%, it tells such a powerful story. It means that while almost half of children with CP can walk on their own, the majority, more than half, face really significant challenges with just getting around. That 42% represents a huge amount of effort, therapy, and pure determination just to manage the effects of spasticity.
So if spasticity is causing all these problems, what can we do about it? Well, this brings us to the treatment conundrum, because as you're about to see, every single option involves a really serious trade-off.
First things first, it's absolutely essential to understand that we're talking about management, not a cure. The brain injury itself can't be reversed. So, every treatment out there is aimed at lessening the symptoms of that injury. Specifically, trying to dial down the spasticity, to make movement easier, reduce pain, and hopefully prevent that long-term damage.
The first line of defense is usually non-surgical, but look at the catch for each one. You've got oral meds, like muscle relaxants, but they affect the entire body, which can lead to side effects like major drowsiness. Then there's Botox, which can target specific muscles, but it's temporary, it wears off, and frankly, we don't fully know its long-term impact. And then there's something called a baclofen pump, which delivers medicine right to the spinal fluid. But that requires surgically implanting a device that has its own risks, like infection or failure. See? Every path has a significant downside. All of this complexity leads some to consider a more permanent, but far, far more invasive option. So let's look at the surgical trade-off.
This is the big question, isn't it? It's the question that leads patients and their families to a procedure called selective dorsal rhizotomy, or SDR. The whole idea is to go in and permanently reduce that overactive go signal that's causing all the spasticity. But the real question is, how effective is it and at what cost?
Just look at these numbers. They show the sheer scale of the problem people are facing before they even consider surgery. Nearly 90% of these patients felt like their walking and balance were actively getting worse. Over 80% were living with pain. This isn't a minor issue. This is a progressive decline that makes a high-risk surgery start to sound like a very reasonable choice.
And on the surface, wow, the results look absolutely incredible.
For the majority of patients, the surgery delivered exactly what it promised. 86% saw their walking improve. 78% felt their balance was better. That deterioration we just saw, for many it was halted or even reversed. This right here, this is the hope that drives that incredibly difficult decision.
And here is the turn. Because selectively cutting nerve roots in the spinal cord is a monumental intervention, and it can create brand new permanent problems that just weren't there before.
A full half, 50% of the adult patients in the study. Just think about that trade-off. You might walk better, sure, but you may lose some or even all of the feeling in your legs to get there. For so many, this numbness became a new and permanent part of their lives.
And this is maybe the most chilling part. The surgery, which was intended to relieve pain for so many, can actually introduce entirely new and severe types of pain. Nerve pain, which is notoriously difficult to treat, so you might end up trading the pain of spasticity for the pain of damaged nerves.
So where does all of this leave us? Well, it brings us right to the core truth of managing a chronic condition like cerebral palsy.
At the end of the day, every single option, from a simple pill to an intensive surgery, comes with a but. There is no perfect solution. There is no magic bullet. It's just a continuous, evolving process of weighing the potential benefits against some very real risks and making the best decision you can with the information you have at that exact moment in time.
And that's really the question I want to leave you with. When every single path has risks, how do you even define success? Is it just about walking better? Or is it about something more, like overall quality of life, pain levels, independence? For every single person with cerebral palsy and for every family, the answer is going to be different. And finding their own answer, that is the true lifelong journey.